Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm blank gaze. Just looks like the reflection of my glasses is a little bit intense, and also it's not very bright in here. All right. So, anyways, let's get to work. So, the last couple of videos, I've just been basically talking about Fogg's motivation model and Buckholtz drive model, and then we started talking about deliberate practice and cube thinking because we need to come to a conclusion about the curriculum that is going to be taught in-app curriculum, and just to make some decisions about like what is the methodology that is um, pushing the concept of this application. So this application here, I call it Qubit Connect. It's real simple. There's only two functions. One function is when you have a task, then you are going to write down the steps so that you can accomplish that task. And then if you're not really sure how to do something, like if you're not like, or if you don't feel motivated, or if it's not actionable, or if you just feel stuck, there's a lot of ways to get unstuck. In fact, some of the ways to get unstuck include unstuck what? Unstuck your health, unstuck your finances, unstuck your doom scrolling, unstuck your relationships, unstuck your learning skills. See, these, whatever you're working on, you got to get unstuck. The way to get unstuck is you take the task that you're supposed to be doing, and then you got to break it down into subtasks. Then you're going to pick a priority, and that's it. There's actually two other ways to get unstuck. Let me show you them. Actually, they're in here. So one way to get unstuck is something called how do we call this thing? Okay, so one way to get unstuck, I think, I'm kind of considering it. It's called objectives module. All right, so what's the objective that you want to talk about? And what are the steps to accomplish the objective if you were to delegate it to someone else? Which is exactly what I'm saying in the app, right? So, like, what are the steps? What's step one? What's step two? If you're going to, so this just takes. So sometimes the problem that some people have is like, well, I don't want to give myself more steps. I don't want to give myself work. I don't want to do the work. That's the whole thing. That's the whole reason I'm doom scrolling. Anyways, I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it. Well, let me check the audio. So I just changed my microphone to the microphone, like the microphone just right in front of my mouth, because I might be doing some typing today. So I thought I want to get ahead of that. Okay, good. It works. Good. Okay, then let's get back into the show. All right. Next is what additional business services are needed. So I think maybe probably for like so some kid that's like just like doom scrolling, and then like let's say you're a mentor for this kid, and then you're like, okay, so what are some additional business services that you need? They won't be able to answer that question. What skills are necessary to complete the task? It's an okay question. What additional tools are needed? Who will you need to contact in the process of work? Who will you need to cooperate with to complete this task? All right, so these are manager. Okay, so I'm not going to include this. So the reason why I decided that I'm going to remove deliberate practice from the learning section is because I think that it's better if that specific thing is facilitated. If there's a facilitator, specifically a manager, I think there's a difference between a mentor and a manager. Now, it's not that a mentor couldn't go help you to create some roles that would be helpful for you to think about, and then break it down into categories, and then break that down into actions. So, what I'm talking about is the concept of what is deliberate practice. And we talked about deliberate practice in the last video. Basically, deliberate practice, it's the idea that if let's say you want to become a football player, and then so there's some specific categories of of fitness. Like you have to have physical fitness, you also have to have ball handling skills, and then you have to have spatial awareness. I think these are the three main categories of skills that you're going to need. But then each of those can be broken down into smaller and smaller parts. And when your coach is going to give you some type of exercise, then the exercise is going to be to develop a specific skill. So when I was thinking about adding deliberate practice to this to the small section of like training videos for this app, I just felt like not this app. So because there's two apps that we're building. There's one which is a manager app and one which is like an employee app. Right? So what are we talking about? I'm talking about if we jump into building Endeavor's introduction course. So there's one app which is where we're working with like the hands, the technician, the clerk, the librarian. And I would say out of these people, we're talking about the technician. Because clerks, I would say we're not so interested in these people because these are just like, these are paper pushers. Even when I coach lawyers and accountants or people in purchasing departments, I always have a problem with these people. In fact, these three specific people, if I go back and look at all of my students over the last 5 years, those are the three people that I have the biggest problems with because like they don't really want to become managers. Like I'm a lawyer. Why do I need to become a manager? I'm a lawyer. Like they're already happy with their position. Accountant, I'm an accountant. Why do I need to? I'm not managing other people. And even if I'm managing other people, it's not actually, it's not the same because in fact, I'm just telling them to do things that I would do myself. It's a different type of management. See, I think the type of work that lawyers, accountants, and purchasing department do, it's very similar. They're just pushing paper. They're pushing transactions. It's not the same type of creative. See, when we talk about like an executive talking about having a vision and direction of the company, let's jump into the big five personality traits, and I think you'll be able to see. Maybe it'll be a little more clear. And I took. You have to answer this question, which is like, okay, so some people are interested in things, and some people are interested in people. All right, so this is like how I connect to people in the world. So you have friendly and compassionate, which is like people who are high in agreeableness. They have a lot of empathy. Then you have challenging and detached, which is low in agreeables or judgmental. Now at work, it doesn't matter. Like both of these kinds of people appear in the workplace, and they're both able to get things done, right? So now if you have extroversion, so outgoing and energetic, high, and if you have someone in high extroversion, so you can have a pushy and difficult boss. They're good at getting you to get, they're like, hey, do this. I want you to do this. I'm telling you to do this. Or a party people like, hey, what's going on? Oh, so good. How you doing with your thing? Oh, can I help you out? So it's like, great, extroverted managers. And then you got your introverts. So you got the gentle giant. They're friendly and compassionate. They're high in empathy, but they're also solitary and reserved. Like, hey, can you please do this for me? I need your help with this. All right, good. Thanks. Thanks for your help. Good. And then the bottom right, the bottom left hand corner, it's like the introvert who doesn't have empathy. It's like, okay, first of all, it's like basically an alligator snapping turtle. They're not really very easy to deal with, and then also they don't really want to talk to you. And so it's like, okay, I can't have you in the workforce because it's just not working. All right, well, this is not the chart that I want to talk about because I think that any of these three people in the top right, top and right, bottom right, any of these people could be a manager. I don't have a problem with these people being a manager. But then if we go into the second point, which is like how I connect to people, like the world around me, then what we're talking about here is, um, well, if we're talking about people who are high in openness, we have the big thinkers, which they're like, so I would consider myself like this as a big thinker. Like as you've seen, I've spent years, like literally 10 years of my life, at least 5 years on YouTube talking about exactly the same thing and trying to mold it into an application and trying to understand how I can mold it into an application. And basically realizing that I have two fundamental concepts here. And like, and then, okay, but I have to more and more, like I'm trying to move myself over into the efficient and organized. In fact, the tools that I've been developing are really for me, so I can make myself into a civil engineer. Because the thing is that, like, as a big thinker, I haven't been able to increase my wealth, so I have to make myself into something new. And this what these tools are built for. Built for me, so that I can turn myself into a highly efficient and organized person. But then when you move it down to here, the accountant, the auditor, the consistent, the predictable, the lawyer, the purchasing department, the accountant, all of these people, they run into here. So they're consistent and cautious, and they're efficient and organized. They don't need my tools. They already have their own tools. They already have these huge expectations for what work are supposed to be doing. What exactly, like, the question is, what is a transaction in your industry? And if you're a creative person, it's like, whoa, what do you mean what's a transaction? So, like, I'm going to throw a bunch of paint on a canvas, and then it's gonna represent emotion and some expression of meaning. It's like, what is that? Yes, your transaction. So that's a lot different, right? But if you ask a lawyer, what is a transaction? It's like, well, the client asked me to do this thing, and then I have to get those things done according to the rules. And if it's not according to the rules, then still have to give like a very specific answer to that problem. There's no there's nothing creative about this. I mean, maybe there is something creative, but it's not the same type of creative that we're talking about. And also, these people are extremely high. They're extremely organized, and they're high in conscientiousness. Every time I talk to these people, they're like just looking at me like, you're an idiot. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what do you like these thinking tools? Like, why do you need all these thinking tools? Just write the answer. And it's like, well, there's a lot of right answers. I'm like, no, there's not a lot of right answers. They're like, yeah, there is. Yeah, well, that's why you look the way you look. You think there's a lot of right answers, and next thing you know, you're in like Georgia, next to the mountains of Azerbaijan and Russia with a dog, and you think you know the right. And I said, okay, so I have my own personal problems where I don't know what the right answer is, and so I just use all these tools to try to figure out what the right answer is. But apparently, you know the right answer. But it's the same issue, right? So, after I went to China, and in fact, it came from it was like a prayer. So, I mean, obviously I'm a religious person. So this is in 2004, and I'm walking down the streets of Shanghai, just right next to the Fudan University. And like, it was just nowadays the road is beautiful. It's like it's all been renovated. There's huge apartments and everything's different. I mean, because this is like, it's 20 years ago. 20 years ago, Shanghai is a lot different than today's Shanghai. So there's this one street. I lived on the street, just disgusting apartment. I had these crazy roommates, and the shower, you can't actually physically touch the walls or the floor of the shower. It was just disgusting. So I would just walk into the shower. I was paying like, I don't know, like $40 a month for rent, and I shared a room with this one dude. And it was the year of the monkey, so he was wearing his he was a monkey, and so he was wearing red underwear. That's what first thing I found out, that when it's your year, then you wear red underwear. So he looked like a little round belly Buddha. Anyways, yeah, it was cool. So these guys were like living there because they were preparing to take the exams to get into Fudan University, and this was like their opportunity to try to get in. So they went to the library every day. They're trying to get the feeling, the sense of like, what does it mean to be a Fudan University student? And I was just like taking Chinese classes. So I'm walking up and down this road, like, to my Chinese classes, and there was garbage on the street. They used to just shovel garbage. Like, they didn't have all the same systems as they do today. So it would just pile up. People would throw their garbage. It would pile up in this big mountain of trash. And I would walk up and down the street to my apartment that didn't have any heat. Disgusting, dirty place with these two funny guys. And it was just survival. And one day I was like, God, is this the right direction? Like, I talked to my parents about it. I talked to the people at the church. I talked to like career people. I talked to people at the school. I talked to everybody. And like, I think it's the right direction, but I just have a little bit of doubt still. And then I prayed. I just said, like, if this is the right direction, you gotta like help me out because I need to know. And suddenly I just like all the doubt just disappeared. So that Like, does that sound like a lawyer? Does that sound like an accountant? Does that sound like a purchasing department? No, because these people are very transactional. These people, they have very, very specific things that they have to do. Like, they're trying to forge ahead. They're trying to look beyond the pattern. They're trying to see beyond the facts. They're trying to find a connection where there's no connection to be made. Like when I went to Fudan and I became the first white man to graduate with an undergraduate degree in Chinese law. I forged the path. I went beyond anything that had been done before. It was like how many guys, if you go back into Chinese history and you look at these guys, Mateo Ricci, this guy from Portugal who brings Christianity to China. It's like before anyone, these guys just walked into China and then they're like, hey, God told me to come here and now I'm doing this. So there you go. But unfortunately, this is not very. It's like it's useful to some extent, but the problem is like you're crazy. If you're going to be crazy your whole life, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. So I'm trying to give myself some tools so I can help myself to win. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? All right. So objectives modules are like they're not for that. Like they're not for the hands. They're more for the manager. So the current app that we're building, it's see the ClickUp, it has the middle section. It has the ability to take like an idea, like an objective, a project, and then turn it into a bunch of tasks. It has that. What I'm trying to do is before that and after that. So finally, that's why we finally built like we're building two separate apps. Now the problem that I have now is like is there's some cross-cutting issues that I have to make as one of the objectives module. I also need to make a decision about um, this unblock and complete tasks. So this is called I call it the touch base module. See, told you I was going to type touch base module. I don't know if it's one word or two words. I always make it into one word, but I guess it's two words. Touch base module. All right. Now, the touch base module is exactly what I would do if I was the manager and then I was like trying to touch base with somebody that has some tasks on my task list. So let's say I'm managing 5 people and then I go and talk to one person and I'm like, hey, I see you got a bunch of tasks on the task list. And let me look at your rabbit race goal tracker. And they're like, man, come on, why do you have to look at my rabbit race goal tracker? You're such a micromanager. It's like, okay. So that's the way this is done in this company where no. So how you gonna deal with see we got a serious issue because like we're moving into the time of Western history where we got more and more like highly emotional kids that have tools and access and then they have money and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, how do you inspire these guys to work hard? I mean, what was I like? I mean, obviously if I went when I turned 23, I was in China and I was like spending 12 hours a day learning Chinese characters. So something definitely grabbed my attention and I was able to sit down and do the work. So that means that that's just like my personality is kind of crazy like that. But then, okay, so now I hire people. Obviously, if I'm hiring people, then if it's a startup, then I can't necessarily afford to hire really expensive people. And if you're not gonna be able to hire really expensive people, it means there's going to be some behavioral issues. So that's what I'm trying to solve here is how do you solve these behavioral issues so that people can become more productive, particularly. Anyway, so all right, so here's the touch base module. The first question is, what are you working on? I mean, as a manager, I should be able to ask at least this: what are you working on? Now, when I say what are you working on? What I'm talking about like what is the assigned task from the click up the to-do list? That's what I'm asking. What is the assigned task? And although maybe you don't want me to like be a micromanager, when I ask the second question, when I ask, what are you going to do today? What I'm saying is, which subtask are you working on right now? That's what I'm asking. So this is a task question. This is a subtask question. And then what do you need help with? So the main key here is that we're trying to unblock this person, because sometimes when you ask somebody to do work for you, and then like it's impossible to know how much of time they're going to be wasting just because they feel overwhelmed, or they're just not sure what to do, or they're just like a little bit confused. Now, I admit that this new trend with AI is, there's a lot of good things about AI, particularly that, I mean, what I notice for myself is that sometimes, like if I'm stuck on something, I just go over and talk to AI, and then by talking to AI, then I can get unstuck because AI can help you with a lot of things. Hold on, I gotta turn my alarm off. My dog's gonna lose control if he hears the alarm. In 8 minutes, he'll go crazy anyways, but because he knows. All right. So, what do you need help with? All right. Now the question is, what do you need help with? What are some potential sources of assistance? Can we update a status? All right, now, so we don't need the bottom three questions. Can we update a status? Do we need to add or delete a task? Is there a change to the timeline? Because the app that we're working on right now doesn't have that methodology baked into it. What we're trying to decide now is, where is it? I feel like suddenly everything disappeared. Yeah, okay, so here's the Qubit Connect. It's right in the center. If I swipe to the left, it's the reordering game. If I swipe to the right, it's the to-do list check boxes and alarms, maybe reoccurring alarms and pop-up calendar with streaks. If I swipe to the bottom, there's this leaderboard. Create a group with your friends to share the tasks. I don't know what this looks like. I just put it there as it's just to be there right now, but not necessarily. Now, if you swipe up, it's actually the educational courses. Although I put it like this because I want to be able to see the courses on the left, and then, all right, probably I need to hold on. So I'm gonna take a copy of this because it's for the marketing department, and we're gonna take a look at it later. But I'm gonna delete this one, and then let's come back up here. All right, so I removed deliberate practice because I just feel like defining your roles, it's not a hands situation. I'm not actually asking the manager to, for example, let's say you have a technician. The technician is not having a meeting with the manager and saying, okay, so like, can we categorize the fundamental skills that I would need in this position to be like a really highly contributable member of this team? And then could we like break those down into subcategories, and then define elements that we could work on, and then talk about some specific exercises that I could engage in order to develop those skills? That's not a technician's job. That job is the manager. So the manager has to understand who are the people on my team, and then like what are their strengths and weaknesses, and who do they need to be in order to get the job done. And then I need to, as a manager, I need to define, okay, so these are some specific elements where I can see that you could improve, and here are some exercises that you could engage in order to improve on those elements. That's a manager responsibility. That's why I removed deliberate practice. I just don't think it's like if we're talking about a 16-year-old kid, and then like what's an app that you can like for him and like teach him how to um like stop doom scrolling, and like let's have a way to escape from that dopamine addiction, and let's turn your goals into subtasks so that they're small enough that you can accomplish something and then get a little bit of a dopamine reaction from something that's more productive. Like that's really the key here. And yeah, it's true that there isn't this element of coaching, and then a coach could talk to them and say, "Hey, listen, I want to talk to you about a specific role, and let's define this role, and let's give you a bigger picture of what it takes to become who you are going to be." Well, I don't think it's necessary. Even when kids go to college, like they're still picking. So the first year is called general studies for a reason. You're just picking some general topics, and you're not necessarily going to be defining yourself as a specialist. The kids who are able to define themselves as specialists, you know, these people are auditors. These people are consistent and cautious. These people are already they're consistent and they're predictable. They're not going to be using my app because they already have their own system. They're not necessarily going to be the high achievers either, because these people, you see, both of these cases, these are extremely efficient and organized people. See, I'm building an app for these people, the easygoing and careless people. Why? Because they need help. That's the whole point of the app, is to give them a tool to help them to move a little bit from the easygoing, careless, and start nudging toward the efficient and organized. Because, like, the easygoing and careless route is like, I mean, honestly, it's like, yeah, I've really loved my life. My life is awesome, but it's also been terrifying, terrifying. Like, I've woken up on how many occasions where I'm just like, where am I? Like, I took the wrong road at some point. And the thing is that, okay, well, if you went back in time, would you change something? And it's no, I wouldn't change anything. Isn't that a contradiction? Like, you are terrified with where you are right now. You have no idea how you're going to dig yourself out of this hole. I mean, yeah, but you wouldn't change anything from the past. No. So isn't that an issue? Isn't that a contradiction? Well, that's the thing, is like I'm a big thinker, so I can think in contradictions and be satisfied with them. Like the feeling of being terrified is something that attracts me. So you don't have a problem with feeling terrified? I love feeling terrified. You know how terrifying the word is, this word uncertainty? Can you imagine the uncertainty of living forever, or the cessation of life? Infinite, or infinite one way or infinite another, the concept of infinite, the uncertainty of infinity, that doesn't terrify you? So, I mean, then you just have to embrace, all you can do is you can embrace infinity. You can embrace being terrified. That's all you can do, is you can only embrace uncertainty. And people are like, no, you can control it. So I don't know. Is that why people are efficient and organized? Because they're embracing infinity? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. All right. Now, I want to show you these two models, and also I want to make another unit to the book, to the exercise book. But I need to resolve this issue first. What are you working on? So another reason why I removed deliberate practice was because deliberate practice, it's helping you to identify an element, and then you have to develop some kind of exercise to work on that specific element. And Qubit Connect is like, I mean, there's two types of tasks. There's learning tasks, and then there's doing tasks. And so if you have a doing task, and if you're using the motivation, Fogg's motivation model, and then there's something you need to do and you don't know how to do it, then obviously you're going to put in one of the subtasks, you're going to put learn how to do this. And then you're going to click qubit connect qubit, and then it's going to create learn how to do this. And it's going to give you the steps about how to learn how to do that, which is they're going to be specific exercises for how to learn how to do that thing. And then once you've learned how to do that thing, then you'll be able to put that back up to that subtask, and then you're going to be able to complete that subtask and move on to step 3. So it's already inherently in the program. That's why, I mean, in the last video I talked about, that's why I decided on qubit, because qubit, it's like it incorporates methodologies both from OKR methodologies and deliberate practice, and it puts it right into a tool. So that's why it's like, I don't need those. So then I wanted to return back to this idea of like, well, does that mean you're going to have to call this guy Mr. Fogg? Like, because if you're going to try to make money on your app, and then part of that making money is his ideology, and he has a copyright on that concept, then it means at some point you're going to have to call this guy. Now, probably I might have to ask Tom to call him, because he's a Stanford professor, so I'll get Tom to call him. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. We need to look at these two things a little bit closer. Let's put it. I want to answer that question first, but now that I'm talking about it, let's just move those two concepts. Let's put them right here. Let's take a look at this. This is pretty interesting stuff. This is probably the most interesting thing that I've thought about in a long time. All right, now what are we going to do here? So I want to take the Fogg's motivation model, which I don't know if this is the real one or the fake one or the what one it is. I don't even know. And so we're going to put that in one box. And then I want to take Tom's work, the drive model. Let's do it with I don't know. See, the problem is it doesn't fit in the box. Let's do it like this. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fit this thing into that box. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit it into that box. All right. Well, I got to change it anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right. So what's the issue here? All right, we'll come back to it. Okay. So what are you working on? So who's asking this question? What are you working on? See, I don't think it's useful. What are you working on? If we're inside of the Qubit Connect app, then it doesn't really matter, because I have a list of tasks. What are you working on? It means what are you working on is the priority. It's right here. It's in the dial. It's either going to be this or this. As long as there's something in your dial, you know what you're working on. And what are you working on today? Then it's in your dial. And then you can set up an alarm. What do you need help with? And what are some potential sources for help? Okay, so what do you need help with? That's the thing, is okay, we don't need that, because the qubit button will break it down into smaller pieces, and then it'll either tell you need to do it step 1, step 2, step 3, or you're going to recognize that you have to like learn how to do that thing. And then that's the potential source of assistance or it's going to say like, you need to contact this person. By breaking things down into subtasks, it automatically resolves blockers. All right, so we don't need that. All right, so we're here, and then we're going to compare buckholtz. We're going to compare drive versus motivation. Looking at the similarities and differences between these models. Why? Because I have to decide whether or not I'm going to keep Fogg's motivation model. Because Buckholtz, I can just call him and say, "All right, so we're ready to launch this app," and he'll be like, "Great, let's do it." But this guy, I gotta actually like call him and say, "Hey, I want to launch an app, and it has some connection to your methodology, and like, how do I get permission to use your information?" So then I would like to be able to negate that step if possible. But then the question is, well, does Buckholtz drive model, does it enable me to negate the Fogg's motivation model? Once we complete that, we're going to move to the implementation. And then I have to rethink this idea of the hook. And I think I might delete the hook. I was taking a look at the hook the other day, and I just the trigger. Okay, setting up a trigger. We're already setting up a trigger because we're setting up the alarm. And then the action, those are the steps. We have the subtasks. That's what tells you what the action is. And then when you complete the subtasks, then there's going to be some kind of variable reward. And then the investment is to get back into the app and continue to like work with it until you've broken down your other actions into subtasks until you're able to take the next. So it's already, yeah, I'm going to remove the hook. Much simpler. Now we're in the process value chain, which is Tom's work. So now we're between Tom Buckholtz and BJ Fogg. Those are the two influences for this app. Those are the two greatest thinkers in the world for this concept. Now I would like to negate Fogg's work. All right, now watch how I do this. So did you ever notice that ability is at the bottom, right? He says, here's a difficult behavior and here's a simple behavior. So what is he saying? He's saying that like a person who's in a trailing position has a low level of ability, low level of skill, low level of knowledge, they don't have the right behaviors, they don't have the right methods, they don't have the right competency. And then as they increase along the ability line, then it becomes a simple behavior, meaning that they can do it. And then motivation. So down here, it's boring, which means that they have a laid back level of effort. And then as you increase the diligence, it means they have more motivation. Wait a minute. So what are you saying? Well, it looks to me like there's some connection between these two things. Isn't that what you're saying? Laid back is the biggest word. And 10. And recollecting. And probably dominance. Competitive. Oh, look at those numbers. And it's okay. Let's do it. Oopsie daisies. Let's just do it like this and see what happens. Nice. Okay. Now we need to. Why did hamster get cut off? Laid back got cut off. How did I fix that one? Oh, perfect. Nice. Okay. I don't think it's going to get any smaller than that. It's the wrong shape. Okay, everyone. It's nice. Let's just do this. I just don't get it. Like, what's happening right now? Well, it gave me time to look at every single tab and then come back here and wonder. Oh, good. I can type. What? Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. It's not exactly what I was hoping for, but so in this area here is the recollecting panda. And the recollecting panda, it means that they're laid back. So we could say that this is descriptive. I think this is the only way I'm going to be able to do this. Nice. So this is descriptive. And as soon as you hear me emphasize the word D, then we know that we're talking about proscriptive. Is this true? Is this the case that this is descriptive? Okay, so let's say you have a manager, you have a meeting, and you're talking to this guy, and you're like, "Hey, dude, so I've noticed that you have like a low level of effort, and also you have a low level of success. And I'm not sure if we should be focusing on helping you to become more motivated, or if we should be helping you to become more qualified. Like, is this a problem? Like, you don't know what to do, or is this that you're just lazy? So help me out here. I don't know how we should be thinking about this." And then the dude says, "Well, okay, so I really want to be like a better worker, but unfortunately." So does it give you the answer? You see, it's descriptive. Come on. How am I going to do this? If I hold this and then I push down. Okay. Oopsie daisies. Click up. Perfect. Okay, that's exactly what it was before. Okay. And he's like, "Well, I don't like what, okay, what? So, okay, so am I trying to motivate you? Like, am I trying to, okay, that's the question. Am I trying to motivate you? Now, now, what Fogg's saying is like, Fogg is saying, are we motivating you through a facilitation trigger or a spark trigger? And Tom is saying, you're a panda. So it's describing the situation. So the situation is that you are laid back. You have a lack of effort being put into the task. If I look at the amount of effort which is necessary to accomplish the task, it is somewhere around here, and currently you're putting in this much effort. And by the way, when you do put in effort, I can tell by the way that you're doing it that you're actually taking the wrong steps. So you are here, and so I need you to develop more skill, right? So here it says, I need you to develop more skill, and I need you to put in more effort so that I can describe you as being high in effort and high in successfulness. And this one is saying, we need more action. How do we get more action? This one's saying is, I see that in order to get more action from you, we're going to need to break down. We're going to need to provide both exercises regarding elements, right? So this is deliberate practice. And reward for task completion. All right, so there's an issue here because the Cubic Connect, you're setting an alarm, which is a trigger, which is a hook trigger. And we don't necessarily want a hook trigger. I mean, of course, we do want a hook trigger. But the question is, what is the reward? What is the reward for a completed task? Because we have something to begin the task. We have a trigger that triggers action, and then the variable reward. Non-predictable is better. All right. What are we motivating you through the facilitation trigger or spark trigger? So this is not actually, it's asking you to describe a situation, and then you can also describe a goal. You can say, I would like to put in more effort, and I would like to become more successful. So it's, what is that word? I would like to. It's I don't know, what is the word that means something that you're looking to the future and you are hoping for something? It's like you can hope for future change. It's descriptive, and it's also a hope for future change. It says, I'm here and I want to be here. Aspirational. It's descriptive and aspirational. This is proscriptive. Okay, so what this is like more specific. So what is the specific what is the specific task? This is this is more like a bird's eye view. And and this is task specific. Okay, so now so we just added the spark to the qubit, and then also facilitation trigger. So facilitation, it's already baked into the cookie. Because what's going to happen is once you break it down, when you break it down small enough, and then you're going to be like, well, okay, so I broke it down small enough, and now I need to learn how to do that thing. So this is the same. This is both. This is deliberate practice, and it's Fogg's motivation. It covers both of those as far as the facilitation trigger, and then the spark trigger is over here. So this takes care of the spark. This gives you the trigger from the hook, and it also gives you okay, then the action, and then it gives you the variable reward, and the variable reward is also the spark trigger. And then in the hook, you have what's this thing called investment. Um, the investment is when you put in more tasks. So it already covers the hook, and it covers Fogg's motivation. Now the question is, do we need Fogg's motivation regarding like let's go into the actual text. All right, so now well, we're gonna have to listen to all this. So I'm gonna have to read this. I'm a little bit confused. Like, when I was thinking about this yesterday, I was just like, I felt like I was seeing something, or I was feeling something that was real, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, these are different, and um, like, but how are you gonna interpret this for? Are we motivating you through a facilitation trigger or a spark trigger? Okay. I see that in order to get more action from you, we're going to need to provide both in exercises regarding elements, that's direct, yeah, and then okay, and then and rewards, okay, and that got that too. Okay. Hmm. All right, I'm not sure. Like, I think I don't really know how to compare it in regarding like if I was going to add some extra thing to the course. So the next thing we need to talk about is the process value chain. Maybe. I don't know. I'm a little bit confused. All right, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to take a little break and we'll talk to you later.